trainers. And I was like, yeah, I want to train, and I want to look like a bodybuilder. And he was like, oh yeah, sure, I definitely, we can help you out. We can set you up with a meal plan and with all these things. And I was like, well, but I have a little caveat for you. I'm vegan. He's like, oh no, there's no way. There's no way you can do that. I'm like, what do you mean no way? Like, why instead of me saying me, I don't know how to do it, let me find out, you are already telling me there's no way I'll be able to accomplish my goal. So that even motivated me even harder. I was like, you know what? This has to be.
Hey, Empowered Vegan Lifers, Ellie here. And I cannot wait to share today's very special episode with you because we have Roger Smith on the show. And Roger's one of those people, well, when you meet somebody, and for us, it would happen to be virtual, but even virtually, when you meet someone and you can just kind of feel the connection, feel their positive energy, well, that's how it felt. And when he suggested we collaborate and be on each other's podcasts, it was for sure something that I wanted to do. And wow, we had a blast, both on his podcast and now with him on mine. So much fun. He's such a phenomenal human being, full of knowledge, full of experience, and full of passion. So I can't wait for you to meet him. Just to give you a little background about Roger, he's an athlete, entrepreneur, a computer science major, and holds an MBA in marketing. He has almost 2 decades, 19 years, living a vegan lifestyle under his belt. His journey started back in 2002 while he was still living in Panama. He hosts his own podcast. He's got one-on-one coaching going on, fitness. He's a motivational speaker, and he really enjoys discussing all things vegan and has created programs that allow people to live a healthier lifestyle. And he's done it both in Spanish and in English. He's got a mission to uplift, embrace, and promote veganism among the Latin American culture. And giving a voice to the voiceless is something he's very passionate about as well. He's a bodybuilder, lifestyle coach. He has his own programming and recipes, and he really strives to help people thrive with a vegan lifestyle. And I can't wait for you to hear him talk all about that. We just had such an amazing conversation. So I will stop running my mouth now and let you hear the podcast. Here we go. I just keep hoping one day the internet will actually be high speed like it says it's supposed to be. But it doesn't seem to happen. No matter how hard I'm like, this is going to be the time. I've been doing this for a year and a half. One day.
It should be called slow speed.
Right? It's just ridiculous. Anyway. Oh, what's going on with you?
Not much. Not too much. Can you actually hear me well?
I can hear you great. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I can hear you perfect because I realized that on the previous recording we had, my mic ironically wasn't as good as I thought it was. Oh. And what I think it was is maybe some of the settings I didn't choose the right mic, so maybe I was trying to record from this when I don't know. So yeah. Your audio came out perfect, but mine I wasn't as clear as it wanted to be. So I wanted to make sure for this one I don't make the same mistake again.
Yeah, no, you sound great to me.
Okay, perfect, yeah, perfect. As long as it sounds great.
Yeah.
So we're good. We're good. Let me put my phone on mute because I don't want nobody to disturb our time. And yeah, so I don't know what you got going on.
Like today?
Yeah. Today, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a lot. Just got so many things I'm working on. It's like hard to even pinpoint one of them, which is what I'm going to do the rest of the day when we get off, is organize. Like, you know how sometimes you got to take a step back, say, okay, let me get everything organized, what I'm going to work on this week, because you get all these things like running around in your head about all the things to do, and it's hard to prioritize, you know what I mean, right?
Right. You don't use a planner?
I do. I have Trello. I have a whiteboard that I wrote everything out on. That's the problem. I'm like trying to organize it in 5 different places. And there's literally like 20 things I want to work on all at once. and that doesn't work very well.
That's the life of
Well,
an entrepreneur. Yeah.
right? I know. It's just, that's just
Mine
how
is like
it works.
it would be nice if you can outsource everything and just let me think. Like, just let me do the thinking. You do everything else. But sometimes
Wouldn't that be
just have
nice? I
that's what we
dream
want to
of
get to.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
We're working towards it. I did meet with a social media person who's helping
Okay.
me get organized with that. So I am starting to kind of put together the team, which takes a lot. Like at first, that's even more work because you know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
trying to get organized with them. So now you're not just organizing yourself, but then once it gets in place, it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
Take some
yeah, you
time.
can have a team to handle your social media. You hear that Gary Vee, he has like 20 people handling his social media. That's that's amazing. That's like a whole department. Now that's not even like HR. HR might be just like two folks probably, but like 20 plus people handling his social media.
It's
That's why
insane.
this guy is, yes, you get bombarded with all his content because, you know.
Yeah, that's a good word for his content. Like bombarded for sure.
Yeah, but it's working for him. So,
Yeah.
hey, you know.
I hope he can slow down a little bit. I know Stu talks about, Stu McLaren talks about
Mhm.
how he worked with him for a little bit, but then it was like Christmas and Gary's like, no, you can't go
Oh,
home to
you
your
got,
family. If you want this, you got to work. You got to work hard day in and day out, Christmas, whatever. And Stu's like, no,
uh,
no,
I'm out.
no, I got a kid. I'm going to go. I'm going to
Yeah,
work some time with my
yeah,
family and all that. So yeah,
yeah.
ultimately, I think the idea is to be able to take some time, that's how
Right?
yeah,
It's like you said, we're talking about a balance, right? I
exactly.
mean, he come from a really hard grind, you know, mentality. Like you gotta work extremely hard to get what you want to be, which, you know, to some extent is fine. But
Yeah,
I believe in working hard and smarter. You want to work hard and smarter.
that's, that's what I'm talking about. Yes. Yeah, and you know
So
what? It's weird. Like, don't you think in this culture, and maybe it's
yeah.
different with the Latin American culture. I would
Hmm.
like to hear your thoughts on that. But
Hmm.
it's like the more hours you work, it's like a badge of honor. Like I worked
Hmm.
16 hours today. Look at me. I'm trying really hard. I'm a hard worker, right?
Yeah.
And then I got, because I'm guilty of that completely. I'm like, I got up at 4 o'clock. I've been working for
Yeah.
16 hours, and I got to take a step back and say, hey, that's not, that doesn't mean you're better or you're doing a
Right.
better job.
Right.
It means you're probably not working as smart as you could be. Do you know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I actually feel like you have to find like it's kind of like what you and I were talking about, like working harder to get more what. So it's because you want to get more financial success, and that's what you call success, and then that's where you think that's going to be the happiness that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So what actually what it is what you're looking for? What you, because I'm sure he having some kind of financial success with what is he's doing, but not everybody on his team probably feel the same way he feels.
Mm.
So it's that's one of those things. Now in the Latin American culture, they don't feel that way. The especially from my background, they look at life as like we don't really have a lot, so whatever little we get, we're happy with it, right?
Mm.
So we only work so we can maintain a sustainable life, right? And then at that point, we're just happy, we're just content. Now for some people that might be like, well, you know, you're not working hard enough to get some to go over the hump. And then for those will be like, oh, okay, well, that's a life that I want to,
Mm.
because the way they were programmed back there, but so for example, for where I come from, it's like you go to school, you know, you get your education, and then you from there you gotta get some higher education. You want to make more money, so that's getting to get a master, and then you want to take it to another level, then you go get a PhD, and that's it. That's how they don't teach you how to be entrepreneurs or how to do businesses. You only have to be workers. You know how to be workers. So what you grow up is just what you do. That's all you do. You just go to school, and then it's the same pattern. You repeat that over and over again, and then that's quote unquote the success that you have. The success that the people might look at different is, well, I went to a different type of school based on the ones that you went. It's like going to Ivy League school versus you going to a public school. You know, that's the kind of things that you see on that level. but they don't see life in the sense is like, oh, when I want to be independent, I want to have my own business. It's like I was taught to work for somebody else or someone else, and that's how success is for me. If I completed school and I completed college, I'm a successful person. So that's how they look at life.
Mm.
So,
No,
and then
it's
the
so
rest is just how.
interesting,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes, it is. And I'm gonna tell you something even funnier.
Tell me.
So I'm from Panama, right?
Yeah.
So Panama has, and I'm not even gonna lie, they have about 40 days off in the whole year. I mean, we don't even have.
What?
Ella, so they celebrate like, I mean, Independence Day, Flag Day, the day they raise the flag. Everything is a celebration. It's like a party place. Like everything is a party. So everything, so whatever they can create a party a day off, it is a day off. So literally, when the year comes and October comes, you forget about people working because October they celebrate Halloween. It's not even a holiday for them, and they celebrate Halloween, right? Then November comes, the whole month of November, that the whole month. We have here 4th of July is on Independence Day. Now, they celebrate November as the entire month, like Flag Day, Independence Day, Separation Day. I'm like, what is even Separation Day? But whatever. Every single day is a holiday. Say, by that time, companies, they just shut down. It's like, well, we don't even worry about people because people might not even come. Not only that, I'm going to tell you another thing. Over there, when you get a full-time job, you automatically, not even having a whole year, you get a whole month vacation, like a whole month. Not if you turn a year in that company, you automatically get a whole month of vacation. It's not like you accumulate. No. That's by default.
Wow. You are making me kind of want to move to Panama, I have to say. Wow. That's
Ella,
so fascinating. It's like,
I
it's
know.
fascinating to me. And it's like what we were talking about on your podcast about what's happiness to people, what's success to people. Right. And there is no right or wrong. There is no ultimate. It's really what is going to bring you satisfaction and joy and purpose, for whatever that looks like for you. And speaking of which, what does that look like for you, Roger?
For me, actually, happiness is being able to help others and make an impact in the world. So I'm glad you asked that question because I asked this question before and then people always get like stumbled, like, oh, I don't know what to say. So I was like, I need to prepare myself for one day somebody ask me that question. But so happiness to me looks like I want to be able to help people. I feel like my biggest joy comes from when I'm able to be able to help that, to be able to coach, mentor people. A lot of the things that I've done in my life that has brought the most joy to me has been situations where, for example, I'll give you an example. One time, out of the nowhere, I was thinking, man, I need to do something that makes me feel like I'm valuable. And what I did was I signed up for a mentoring program, kind of like a Big Brother program. And in long story short, they assigned me this kid. I think he was like 13, 14 years old, somewhere around that time, a teenager. And I was like, I mean, I don't have kids, so I have no experience dealing with this. So what do I do? But, I have a younger brother. But, so I was thinking like, what do I do? Like, how do I be able to connect with this person? So I'm a talker. So this is one thing that I can do well. So I approached this person and this kid and we started talking and he was very receptive. Like he really wanted to open up. And I didn't know why. Like I needed to understand why, right? Maybe if I understand his reason why he's been acting that way, I'll be able to get into him. I'll be able to create an impact on his life. So it took me about 4 or 5 visits because I was actually visiting this kid at UV, right? He was in UV and I had to go visit him once a week. So I was committed to that. And it took me about 4 times before he actually started talking to me. So then he said, I just wanted to test you out to make sure that you were committed to this. And I was like, listen, I'm not getting any type of money or reward or gratification from this. The only thing I want to be able to help you out with whatever it is that you're going through in life. I might not be able to help you financially, but I will be able to help you in some other way or somehow. And this has nothing to do with being vegan. right? This is not a vegan related topic.
Oh,
So we're
yeah.
just talking about what brought joy to me.
Yeah.
So so long story short, I was able to follow this kid to his different journey while he was in UB. Then from UB he got into some problem, and they sent him to a different type of jail, to put it in those terms. And then from there, he got sent to kind of like a boot camp place. And all this time I was visiting this kid.
Wow.
So the one thing I was able to get to him was that he told me, I want to be an entrepreneur when I finish school. I was like, man, let me give you a hug right now. So I started saying, okay, so you want to be an entrepreneur? I can help you with that. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to assign you books related to this topic. And guess what? All these books, I read them before. So you cannot lie to me. I was gonna curse, but you cannot lie.
Curse here. We're open here.
So yeah, you can't BS to me, right? So I read all these books. So I'm gonna ask you questions related to these topics, and so we can go ahead and have a conversation. And that's how I was able to get to him. So every time I used to go visit him, he had a whole week to read a book, and I would go question. Some of the book I never read them, but I was just like, I just wanted to just let him, have that. Be what you and I always talk about. People have to be committed. So you have to be committed to something. Just like I was committed to him, I wanted him to be committed to our little experiment, right? Mm-hmm. So at the end of the activity, the kid graduated from high school or from the program, and he went out to the world and all that kind of stuff. So things like that brings joy to me. So that's the reason why I decided to say, you know what, I want to be a coach. I want to coach. I want to help people. But what are my two passions? Veganism and now coaching and helping people. And I was able to merge those two. So that's where I am. That's actually true happiness to me. So I hope that answered your question, right?
Oh, 1,000%. No, I'm with you as well. And I want to hear also the vegan side of this equation. And you went vegan almost as long ago as I did. How long was it?
Yeah. So next month will be 19 years. And I don't really remember the exact date in September that I went vegan. I celebrated the whole month just like we're doing back home.
There we go. Yes.
So as soon as it's September 1st, I'm like, hey, happy vegan anniversary all the way to the end of the month. So just to tell you my story real quick, how it was. So the funny thing about my story where I went vegan is that I went vegan on a trip to Argentina. So Buenos Aires, Argentina. And if people know, Argentina is like the mecca of like barbecue. It's like meat capital. Yep. It's like literally like Argentina have a whole strip, which is barbecuing each side right next to each other. Like this is the craziest thing. So I don't know. But let me tell you a little quick note. My mom told me when I was born that I was allergic to cow milk. I'm like, Mom, I was born to be vegan. So she had to give me soy milk. I'm like, Mom, I was born to be vegan. There you go. Like I cannot be drinking, milk from a different animal.
Right.
So she told me that. So I was like, hey, there you go. I mean, since I was born, I was meant to be vegan. But anyway, going back to my story in Argentina. So a friend of mine, which is I guess he's probably 20 years vegan now. He introduced me to veganism from a diet or from a health standpoint. Mm-hmm. But at that younger age, just like you and I talk, I wasn't really feeling like, I'm 20 plus years old. I'm an athlete. I play all kind of sport, kind of similar to your story. I play all kind of sport, baseball, soccer, and basketball was my passion. And I always was in sport. I did karate as well. I was doing everything. My dad had me do everything because I guess I was too hyper.
Gotta get that energy out there.
Yeah, you can't stay still. So we gotta get these kids do something. Yeah. So anyway, so he had me do all kind of stuff, and so my friend introduced me to veganism, and I was like, why do I start to think about being healthy when I'm like 20 plus years old. 40 years old looks so far away, right?
Yes, it did back then. Oh yeah. They're like, those 40-year-olds, oh my God, I'm never gonna be 40. Like that's old.
Uh, so yeah, so I got introduced to veganism, and my curiosity kind of sparked. But I was like, yeah, I don't know about this thing. But I started researching, and that's when I saw, all the videos about slaughtering animals and stuff like that. Actually, PETA turned me vegan, basically.
Mm-hmm.
PETA messed me up.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw a bunch of PETA videos, and I was like, whoa. This is what I'm eating. So it right away clicked to me. So I didn't even hesitate. I was like, I'm vegan right now. I'm vegan was not even a word back then. You know that. It was not even that thing.
Yep.
So I was like, I just went vegan the next day, and that's it. Been vegan since, and I don't think I regret it. I think my only regret is I wish I would have started earlier, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only regret. I wish I would have been 30 or was just born vegan, which I was, but my mom was like, no, you gotta eat meat.
She's like, no milk, but meat, yes. Like, wait a minute. Yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. So literally one day you were not vegan and the next day you were vegan. That was it.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. So like I saw the video like at 12, I don't know, at 12 noon one day. I'm like, oh no. That's it. I'm vegan right now. So next day I was like, okay, I'm not eating anything. So at that point I was still living with my parents, and whatever they say, like put let's say, because a basic staple meal is like rice, chicken, 2 tomatoes that they call salad, and beans. So it's not even a well-balanced meal, right? So we're not talking about nutrition. So it's a well-balanced meal, right? So that's like a staple meal. So what I would do, I would just remove the chicken out of the plate, right? And I would just eat that. So, but at one point, the next day I went vegan. I was like, I'm not gonna eat like that rice might have some kind of some kind of spice or something that they made it with, or they mixed it with the chicken. And so I was really confused, and I really don't understand much about it. It was like lack of knowledge. I mean, we're talking about early 2000, whatever that year was. And then we're talking about a place that the internet was still in dial-up. So, so this is, a lot of people might not even know about this stuff. But yeah, so it was a struggle in that sense. So but even with that, I always tell that my wife was so strong that I don't care what's the struggle that I was going through or what, even if there was a struggle, I actually embraced that now. I knew that I did not want it to be part of that. And that was it. That I don't care what you say, what you put on me. If I don't eat, it's like if I had to quote unquote die because I had no food, I'd rather do that than eat an animal again. So that's why people call vegan extreme, because we kind of think that way, right? But of course, I mean the situation got better once the education started flowing in, and I started learning more about that part of it, the veganism.
Yeah. And okay, so in your head back then, right, when you made that switch and it was so strong for you, so powerful, that why when you made that connection, how did you look at everyone around you once you make that connection yourself? When I was 15 and made that, or when I even younger, it was like, oh my gosh, nobody must know, because if they knew, surely they wouldn't be eating meat. So I just got to go out and tell everybody. That was I was younger than you were. But what about you? How did you feel about now going out into the world, knowing this and seeing people eating? Did you want to educate? Did you want to inspire? Where were you with that?
Yeah, I like that question, because I was a militant vegan. I was like, you gotta stop that. And then I'm gonna tell you something even funnier. So my uncle, he's a vegetarian, and then he used to come to our house. This is me before I turned vegan, right? He used to come to our house when it comes to visit us with shirt that says like, no, don't eat meat, and all these things. And we're like, nah, get out of here. What's going on with you? We don't want to be part of that, blah, 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 blah. We used to bully our uncle for coming out and say, don't eat meat, don't eat meat. And it's funny because then when I turned vegan, it's like now I'm the one that is like with the shirts, don't eat meat, right? So it's reverse roles, right?
Yeah.
So for me it was difficult because the sensing was difficult because my sister is a doctor. She's a general doctor, right? General medicine. And so nobody ever listens to me because it's like, if your sister says this, why do we listen to you, right? So I'm having this debate where, you know, my sister have all this quote unquote knowledge of nutrition, which is not true. But then my family is like, hey, she's a doctor. Hey, man, she went 10 years to school. So why would you listen to you when she's used, you know, you have her? I'm like, listen, I don't really care what argument we're going through here. But my point is like, those are sentient beings. That's the only argument I have to say. And they're like, we don't care. So that used to hurt me a lot because I'm like, why do you mean you don't care? Like, you don't care about other life? So it was a tough situation in that sense. And I used to always try to, my problem is like, I used to say like, I used to think I was Dr. Sebi without even knowing anything, because I used to talk to people about nutrition all the time or veganism without even having no kind of knowledge whatsoever. And at that point, at that age, I had a lot of frustration day because I always wanted to turn people into vegan. And sometimes into this day, I still feel that way. How a little bit of that I brought with me. I wanted to preach veganism, and that's what one of the hardest things for me to deal around, because in the in the Latin culture is they're so heavy in the culture. It's so heavy the culture. Like, for example, and I'm having this conversation with a lot of other influencers about, you know, about their specific countries and their specific cultures. And it's like, for example, like food, for especially for in the Latin culture, it's part of the culture side. For example, they have their national anthem, you know, they have their national clothing, and then they have the national dishes. Like, the food is part of all of that. That is part of that package. So when you're talking about, oh, we gotta take away the food that you're eating and then implement something else, it's like a disgrace. It's like a slap in the face for most of them, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm dealing with this situation because they're like, my parents thought I was some kind of cult, like I'm some kind of cult, like I'm satanic, and like, you know, oh, it was a trending thing at that point, and I'm like, how can I be a bad person when I'm trying to do a good thing? Like, it doesn't click to me. So it was tough in that situation, in that sense. And I had to learn a lot. And I think the more educated I got, the better I got expressing myself and educating others, teaching others. I think it helped me to cope with a lot of that. But it was tough because I did want to change everyone. Like, I wanted everybody to be vegan. To this day, my family think I'm on a diet. Ella, tell me, who goes on a diet for 20 years? Like, you tell me, who goes on a diet for 20 years? Like, you on your diet. I'm like, a diet? And 20 years later? Like, no one goes on a diet for that long. Like, who does that?
No. People diet and then they fall off the wagon. Then they diet again. They fall off the wagon. This is like the anti-diet.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. Yeah. And then what about the sports, and how did you incorporate that, and how did you learn to eat in a way that was going to support your performance?
Okay. So when I turned vegan, mainly for the animal, like I always say, for the animal, I wasn't doing any kind of physical activity. So my last career or playing sport, like every kid has a dream to play in professional sport, ended in my freshman year in college, that I actually had I turned my ACL playing, and then at that point I was like, I'm done playing sport. And which was kind of like a hard thing for me because it was part of like my life. Every athlete when they play sports, like they feel like something is missing, right? Like, what I'm gonna do with my life now, you know?
Yeah. I just moved into the gym after high school, like when no more team sports, right? I just was like, oh, I'll just live at the gym now, because what else am I gonna do?
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. So I wasn't vegan back then. So then when I turned vegan, I wasn't really playing or doing any kind of physical sport, just recreational sport. So what I got stumbled upon was I was married for a while, and then during that time, my ex wanted to get in shape, and so we hire a trainer. I hire a trainer, right? And then the guy was like, nah, you need to come to the gym too. Like, you out of shape. Look at you. You come here with your flip flops. So he started like calling me out. I'm like, all right, I'm going to come to the gym. That was like back in 2008 or something, somewhere around that time, 10 years ago, whatever. So I started going to the gym, and then I always wanted to work out. And always wanted to get in shape, but it wasn't something that I put in my priority list. And I had no, and I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why it wasn't. And this, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. So the same friend that introduced me to veganism 20 years ago, one time I asked him, see, because I used to really always look at this guy highly, like, oh, kind of like a mentor, right?
Mhm.
So so one time I asked this guy, hey man, I want to go to the gym, I want to work out. And then his answer was, why do you want to get that big? And I was like, why not? It's like, nah, just, you're not. So he gave me all this story, all this negative reason why he feel I shouldn't go to the gym. And I actually took it because,
Mm.
I saw this guy as a mentor. He helped me with my lifestyle. And I was like, Roger, you're dumb. Like, why are you following somebody else's advice? Like, this guy, scarcity or fears is sending that to you. That's nothing to do with you. And this is something that you wanted to do. But I realized that years later.
Mm.
And during my same way as me as a vegan, mature and grow and get better and find different things. Same way with life. I mean, I don't have all the answers. Like I can't, sit down here and tell you that I know everything,
Are you
right?
sure?
But now, so yeah. So at that point in that year, going back to the year, so I was like, you know what? I found a passion in the gym, and I feel like this is what I needed in my life. From an athlete standpoint, I'm not doing any type of team sport. Now this is an individual sport, and at the same time, I get to it's how far can you take your own self? How far can you challenge yourself? And I like challenges, so I use that as a motivation. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start training. But then I started training even harder because one day I went to the gym and I asked one of those trainers, and, at the gym they always have just different type of trainers, and I was like, yeah, I want to train, and I want to look like a bodybuilder, and he was like, oh yeah, sure, I definitely we can help you out. We can set you up with a meal plan and with all these things. And I was like, well, but I have a little caveat for you. I'm vegan. He's like, oh no, there's no way you can do that. I'm like, what do you mean no way? Like, why instead of you saying me, I don't know how to do it, let me find out, you are already telling me there's no way I'll be able to accomplish my goal.
Mm.
So that even motivated me even harder. I was like, you know what? This has to be a way to crack this. So there has to be other vegan athletes, vegan, because there's no way I'm the only one that's trying to figure this thing out. So that's when I found Robert Cheek. Robert Cheek was one of my first motivations to kind of start training, and then find his book, and I read it. I'm like, yeah, you see, there are a lot of people that are doing this. We just all spread out. It's just all over the world, right? We're not concentrated in one location.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, veganism was not even mainstream like it is now, or there was no social media or no Instagram or none of this. Well, the basics still were out there. Maybe Facebook was the only social media probably in those times. So I got motivated because I wanted to prove people that you can do competitive sports being vegan, having a plant-based diet or whatever you want to call it. So I wanted to prove people that way. So that's the reason why, you know what, I'm gonna start training. I'm gonna use this platform and this to be able to create awareness. And that's how my journey started. And then I just started training from there, and I haven't even stopped. So yeah,
And you
that's how I.
competed. You competed.
Right. So yeah. So in 2014, so I did a trip to Portland. Like I was telling you, I did a trip to Portland to meet a couple of vegans. I went to the Portland Vet Fest that year. It was 2013 actually. And that year so I went to the Portland Vet Fest and I met a bunch of vegan athletes. Robert was there. There's a lot of them were there, and so I was able to be able to mingle and get to know a lot of them. And at that point, I think I was like 240, and they were like, "Man, you don't compete? And like, you're not a bodybuilder?" I'm like, "No, I just lift weight." Like, there's no way you're that big and you don't do bodybuilding. I'm like, "You think I should do bodybuilding again?" Because I wasn't sure. I was just doing it to prove a point, right? I wasn't doing it from a competitive standpoint. And they were like, "Nah, you should do it. You should do it. You should do it. You should do it." So I'm like, well, if these people are seeing something that I have, I might just give it a try to see how it goes. So at that point, then I was like, okay, I'm gonna compete next year. So I did my first competition in 2014, and I placed fourth on my first competition,
Nice.
and like, I was devastated. I was like,
Oh,
oh.
yeah.
I came on that stage. I almost cried, and you know why? It's because it's sad because I was devastated because I was like, man, I feel like I never worked as hard in my life like I work on bodybuilding. If people think bodybuilding is not a sport, I hardly disagree because it's tough. The way we train is very tough, especially with the dieting. That's actually a very strict diet that you have to follow. So in 2014, I did my first competition, and when I placed fourth, I was so sad and so mad. I was like, no way, I lost. And I realistically knew that the guy that won first place, he was looking a lot sharper than I was, and probably that guy was not even his first competition. So when I left the stage, I had two conversations with two vegan athletes. One was Robin and one was Torre. They both told me different type of advice. Tori told me that I always need to control what I can control is my own self and the time and effort and training that I put on, but I cannot control the judges. So I always have to make sure that I take care and control myself, my body, my mind, that part of it. So take control of yourself and then let the rest, judges handle the rest. So I was like, okay, great advice. And then Robert told me that I shouldn't even be upset because his first competition he didn't even place. So you need to keep pushing. It's like anything in life. Go back to the example that I was saying about the kid that he said, I'm testing you to make sure that you are accountable and that you are committed to me. Same way, the sports wants to make sure that not everybody have the benefit. Well, you made your first competition, you won first place. That's great, but it could have been a situation where you may make your second competition and you probably didn't even place. I mean, we don't even know. And I actually have an example of somebody that has went to something similar. She went to the first competition I went. She won first place. Then she was like, all excited, all cocky. I was like, man, I won. I got this. She made her second show a month later. And she didn't even place. So things happens in that sport. So anyway, so I placed fourth in my first show. Then I was like, okay, my goal is I'm going to do a show every other year. So 2016 came. It was my second show. And I placed third. And I was like, okay, well, I'm moving up. I'm excited. I'm going up, and that's great. I'm getting better. And and I had to admit that there was a lot that needed to improve. I needed to improve because it was my first time actually, doing this kind of stuff. Posting is a big thing in bodybuilding. Training is a big thing. So there's a lot of tangibles that I didn't really have taken care of at that point. So I needed to work and then kind of take care of those things. And then, so my next following show, my third show should have been in 2018. But during that time, I was in so many other things in my life that bodybuilding was not a priority. And even though I was still training, in 2019, I decided to compete. And then at that point, I hired a local coach instead of online coach. So with the local coach, we train very similar to what I trained before. And then I had a posing coach as well for this competition. So I went a lot more serious, and I won my division. So I won the Classic PC division, and I went to stage at least like 5 times. I'm not gonna lie. So I did bodybuilder and I did classic physique and then I did overall physique. So I think the judges gave me first place for one, and then the other ones they gave me second place because they felt like I was better in this category than the other one. So anyway, so I won, and then from that, since I won the overall, that allows me to become a pro bodybuilder. And so my debut is going to be on September 26th. So I got a couple of weeks before that.
Wow, that's so exciting. Well, congratulations, number one.
Thank you.
And what did you learn about eating and the working out that allowed you to improve?
Well, the one thing that I learned is, listen, in my off season, I don't really count macros. I've never been a big fan of counting macro. I just I just pretty much eat, what I feel like eating, right? I mean, I intuitive eating kind of plays a big role here.
Yeah.
And are you very familiar with this?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, so I don't really count macros, and just I just eat, and that's it. But for training and bodybuilding, I think this has to be a discipline there. Just the simple fact that since when I'm eating, I'm not really thinking about what I'm necessarily putting in my body. Now, let me explain. This is all vegan food. I'm not saying that I'm eating something else. We are talking about eating vegan food. But what I'm saying is, like, if I'm eating a burger, for example, now if I'm competing, I have to make sure that, okay, this does hit the amount of fat that I'm supposed to eat, to gain or lose weight, whatever the case is. So I have to make sure that the food that I'm intaking aligns with my specific goal.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just for bodybuilding, because for average folks, I don't think you have to really to focus too much into this. So what I learned about it is I learned a lot about, I won't necessarily say about nutrition, but a lot about, like, now and be able to identify, like fats, fats, what's nutrients, what nutrient dense type of food I need to eat, what's high in fat, what's high in calorie, what's high in carbohydrate. So that kind of teaching indirectly was what I was getting from the whole preparation. And of course it is some kind of a basic formula that, well, you eat less with cardio, you lose weight, you eat more, less cardio. And so I kind of learned that a little bit too
Mm-hmm.
on that process. So some basic things in that sense. um, now now I have a little bit of more of a flexibility, because I have a number to hit, a number of macro numbers to hit, so I can just, plug in any food that I want in between those numbers. But if I wasn't competing, I wasn't putting too much attention into that. Mhm.
So you had mastered the intuitive eating for your off season when you're not trying
Correct.
to cut down to almost no body fat. And yeah, got it. Wow,
Hey, man.
that's soon. Do you feel hungry a lot, even with the macro counting? Like right now, you're obviously being very strict.
Mhm.
How do you feel physically? And then what about the mental piece? Because a lot of our listeners have struggled with disordered eating.
Mhm.
And I've worked with quite a number of fitness professionals and former bodybuilders who have developed a dysfunctional relationship with food. What could you talk to about that?
Sure. Yeah. So the mental aspect to me is, I always tell people that I think training as any sport is probably like 80% or 90% mental, and then a small percent is kind of like what you and I were talking about, is the easiest part. Because the reason why it is so important is because right now mentally I have to be in the right mindset, knowing that I have this goal to accomplish this, that I want to win, I want to be successful, when I put myself on stage, I'm representing the whole vegan community, right? So I have to represent it the right way. Regardless, it's not the case, but that's the mindset that I had to put myself on. So that's the toughest part, because that means that if I was eating a whole full cake, now I know that I might just have to eat a small piece, and I have to be content with that, and just it's temporary, right? It's not going to be, this is my long-term goal. I might not compete in 2 years after this. So at that point, I don't really have to worry about it. So mindset wise, what I've done is, since this is a little bit of personality too. I'm a very committed person. So I always say, if I'm committed to something, I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to go all the way. And then for me, what does it take? What helps me a lot is to get educated, because the more I get educated about the topic, it allows me to feel like, okay, well, what I'm doing is right, or what I'm doing is wrong, or this is just, this is what I'm doing. So getting the understanding of what I'm doing is what allows me to be able to be committed to it. So training wise, I'm not hungry. I'm eating a decent amount of calories. And the good thing is, like, my food have not changed too much, so it's just reduced the amount that I was eating.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then of course I'm cutting a lot of the sweet, because have a very sweet tooth, so I'm cutting a lot of that. But I have to be creative. So now what I do is, like, I'm gonna have dates, right, to help me with that craving, with that sweet, right? Or I might have like a protein donut, right? So you have to get creative in during this time, in my case, so I can cope with all, not make it feel like it's boring or it's too repetitive. But at the same time, now I have to think like a pro, right? because now I'm like, okay, I'm on a level that I had to think like, if I was a professional athlete, which I am, what would they be doing? Like a professional athlete will not be bench eating just because he has the opportunity. He's playing X, Y, and C sport, so he has to be in that mindset. So you have to be able to be on that mindset when you're doing something like that. So if you are in a program, right? Same way, your mindset is like, okay, my mind is to start the program, complete the program, get the result that I need, and find the help is required. That's the right mindset that you go once you go into a program. So I feel the same way as well. I'm not hungry. There might be days that I might feel like, what I sometimes miss a lot
What?
is I eat a lot of fruits, cherries and stuff. So if I'm actually on my surplus, or I hit my calories, then I'm gonna be like, oh man, I wish I could eat that cherry. But I know that the next day, I'm gonna have that cherry, and that's not even a bad meal, a bad food to have, right? It's not like I'm having like a piece of cake or something, or
Right.
sneaker, or some chocolate. But even if you do, you can have those. But the problem is, how much do you have that with moderation? The
Yeah.
thing is, like, we accustomed to when we eat. For example, in the Latin culture, when they eat, they want to eat to get full. It's not like eat a little bit of food. It's like, I just want to feel full. They eat to be full. So what does that mean? It's like, I just gonna eat. So they don't know where to stop. So they only stop when the belly is like is this big.
Right.
So 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 that's why there's so many unhealthy people in that sense. So I have to educate myself, learn how to eat and what to eat and when to stop. When do you are you really hungry, or do you just want to drink some water? Did
Mm.
you ever had how much water are you drinking? Right?
Yep. Yep.
What do you tell your clients in that sense when it
No,
comes
it's
to that
interesting you
sense?
brought that up, because one thing we talk about is getting to that point where we want to reach for food and trying to figure out at that point, why am I reaching for the food? Am I really hungry, or am I having an emotional reaction to something and I need to numb or distract or celebrate, whatever it is. And oftentimes our bodies are telling us that we're thirsty, and we're thinking it's that we're hungry. So just like you said, I'm like, you're going to drink a full glass of water, wait 10 minutes, and then if you're still hungry, you're probably hungry. But yes, you gotta kind of dissect what is going on. And most people, it's hard. That pause is where it's tough, because
Mhm.
that has to be a learned pause as opposed to the automatic response.
Right.
How would you, in general, and I'm just talking
Mhm.
general, because you do one-on-one coaching as well,
Mhm. Mhm.
between a person, a Latin person versus a Caucasian person, in general, culturally, what are some of the biggest differences that you find are important to take into consideration when helping them be successful?
Not really. There's not that many differences. I mean, at the end of the day, we all people. The one big thing, like I was saying, is cultures. Because, like, for example, if I'm speaking to somebody here in the U.S., they might be more aware of what the vegan lifestyle is versus somebody that, let's say, I'm speaking to someone like, I mean, I don't want to call any other country out, but let's say from Central America to South America, right? Because here we are a little bit more advanced when it comes to different terms, or we have more access to information and products.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at the same time, I tell those people, is that, listen, hey, vegan is not very difficult. I mean, rice, beans, and salad, that's vegan right there. I mean, banana and apples, those are vegan. And you can find those in any place. No matter where I go. I can go to Asia, I can go to Africa. It don't matter where I go. You can find those foods. So yeah, I mean, if the Beyond Meat and all those things doesn't get into your plate, it's kind of like what you were saying. Sometimes that's a blessing and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, you gotta get creative, right? You can probably make burgers with beans. You don't have to necessarily, which is probably even healthier. So healthier than if you actually buy one of these the full meat. So the point is, like, the difference is like they complain a lot more about having access to food, because what they see on TV and on the media is all these brands that we have, like we got all these amazing products and stuff. So they were like, oh wow, to go vegan, I need to have all of those things. So that's a big difference. Here we don't think about those because we have it on the store. It's like, well, my store might not have that product, but they have this other brand, right? So for us, it's not an issue. But for them, it's like, oh, I don't have access to those products. I cannot be vegan. No, that's not true, because there's a lot of other people that choose to be vegan, right? And they don't have access to those products.
Yeah.
Now, the other benefit is that sometimes locally in those different countries, they have their own product. So that's when you wanna, artisan product. You wanna be able to promote and support those local products. So don't just get caught up in the whole hype and in the whole Hollywood scene and everything that we offer. When at the end of the day, you have a strong why, and then you do it right, you should not have a problem eating the food that you're eating. Actually, it's even better for you, from your health standpoint. So that's one of the big difference that I see. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. They act the same way. They communicate the same way as far as what they see, what they want, what they want to eat. But yeah, I don't see much difference when it comes to speaking with somebody here locally or speaking to somebody over there. That's just the biggest thing that I've noticed is so far when it comes to some of my clients that are in all part of the world. But it's interesting to learn how do they think, right? Like, for example, in Argentina, they will say something like, well, it's hard for us to find soy or tofu. I'm like, man, you cannot find tofu. that's like that's like number one protein source for most vegans. Like, you can find tofu, and then it's like, well, no, it's not true. You could find it, but you have to go to a specific place to find it. I'm saying, okay, again, don't get caught up because you cannot eat tofu. The good thing about plant-based food is so nutrients dense that, hey, you can get protein from so many other sources. You can have banana have protein, kale have protein, and all these other meals have protein. So don't get caught up in all that. Just be able to get in there, eat, prepare your own meals, get creative. And the one thing that I like to help them is, let's start veganizing a lot of the recipes that are part of your culture. Because that way you don't feel like, because a lot of people feel like they losing something, like, oh, you're taking away part of me. I'm not trying to take away anything from you. Actually, I'm trying to amplify your life. So what about we take those local dishes and then we veganize them, right? And then a lot of a lot of the times that we're doing that, they're even better, they taste better, they're even healthier, and sometimes they don't even notice. So
Yeah.
so let's try to include more instead of eliminate, because the point is not to eliminate. I actually have a chapter in one of my programs that I focus on this actually only, where I'm educating them in that aspect of how can you not eliminate things from your plate, because a lot of people, when they look at vegan, they only think that we eat vegetables all day. Right? And now I have so many options of food to eat. I don't even know where to start. Like, and I'm hungry every single day. So the point is not to eliminate anything from your plate. So let's actually amplify. Let's get that plate better. Let's take away all the dead flesh and then put life into your plate. Let's put living things into your plate. And then that's gonna allow you not to live longer, but to feel that mental connection and that mental safeness that you need to be able to go on to your world and do better things for everybody. So I just wanted to share a little bit of that.
No, I love it. I love it. And I was going to ask if you had your own recipes for the veganizing different popular dishes as well. Speaking of programs, though, can you talk to us about what you're doing now, what your projects are? I was on your podcast, or I'm about to be. So tell us what you're up to.
Yeah, thank you. As a matter of fact, well, I think when this episode is out, your episode will be out. So you guys definitely have to check out and last episode. We had such an amazing conversation. But thank you. So yeah, I have a podcast, and my podcast comes out every Friday. alternating between English and Spanish episodes. I think that eventually it's going to change. I might launch 2 episodes, which is going to be one in English, one in Spanish. We'll see how that goes, but for now, that's the way the format that I'm doing. And yeah, it's going amazing. And I had the opportunity to speak everything about veganism from different standpoint. I put a little bit of my twist in from the Latin culture, but I was saying also I take a little bit of the activism part. I did a little bit of the health, because people think that I only focus on the fitness part just because I'm into fitness. But no, no, no. I touched a lot of other aspects into the veganism. Has, I guess, from like activism type of guests. So we talk a little bit about being intersectional type of vegan, and all different type of topics. So it's very well diverse, just like me.
There you
So I
go.
get the opportunity. So I got the opportunity to speak a little bit about everything. I do have a fascination for sport, because I like it. So I kind of tend to gravitate a lot for athletes, just like Ella and Vanessa and Robert and all these guys. But that's not the only main topic. Also, right now, I'm working on doing one-on-one coaching. I'm helping a lot of people to transition. So if anyone's need help in the transition aspect, I do one-on-one coaching, and at the same time, I have a couple of programs. But the one program that I'm actually emphasizing right now is the one that is helping people how to quit dairy, and
Mm.
how to quit cheese, and how to quit eggs and fish. So yeah, just eliminate that completely out of your diet, and then you can definitely transition into a plant-based, and then eventually from plant-based turn into a vegan, and that's what main focus. And then one of the things that I focus a lot and that I put a lot of emphasis is on the social aspect, because I dealt with this for so long, and like I dealt with the kind of like we were talking earlier about, with the social rejection, the society and the family, and why you're vegan and you're crazy, and losing friends. So I seen that a lot of people, especially that are vegan curious or starting, they're dealing with this, the situation where it's hard for them to figure it out. If I would really want to go vegan, go against my family, or go against the grain, or again, we're talking about how the culture is so deep engraved into a lot of these families and this person. Imagine a 15-year-old Ella, living in somewhere else, trying to go against family's traditions. So all these things. So I focus a lot on this. I have a whole chapter that I tell my personal stories, tell my personal experiences, how I dealt with this, some of the things I did, some of the suggestions. I have a couple of suggestions, things that I do. And the important part is like, I actually help you along the way. So it's not like I'm just gonna leave you alone, watch a video, and then no, 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 no. You have consultation with me at the end of each chapter. We have a conversation, and I'm here to hold your hand during the entire process, and to help you and to guide you. So that's some of the things that I focus on, and I love that aspect of it, because I know a lot of people need it. And I was having a conversation with a 16-year-old from Panama, actually, from my hometown, and she was telling me like how she was able to convince her dad to go big. I'm like, man, you're a superhero for me, because
Mm.
I had no luck doing that with my family. I'm like, yeah, it took me a while. It took me about 3 years. So she said since she was 13, she was trying to tell her parents, I want to be vegan, I want to be vegan.
Mm.
And it took me a while. So it's a very interesting conversation, and I that's the kind of things that I want to. And one of the things is like having a community. Have a Facebook group that we can have a community that we can all can share experiences. I have a couple of ebooks with recipes, and I created my own recipe. Where I shared some of my own personal recipes, some of my custom culture Latin recipes as well. I throw them there in the recipe book, and I have a lot of these as a video also, which is also available for our members. So yeah, so we have a whole community here. I have programs in Spanish and English, so it don't really matter. I mean, we accept everyone. Everybody is welcome, and we just love to share. I mean, I love working with people. I love talking to people, and I love people. So they're all welcome.
I love it. We all of that is so needed. And
Yeah.
where can they find you? And we'll put the links also in the show notes.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I think the best way you can find me on Instagram as Roger underscore Vegano, which is vegan with an O at the end, which is basically the Spanish term for vegan, right? So it's Roger_Vegano, and then I have a link tree there. You can just click there, and all my information is there. I also have a website. You can check out my website, which is latinovegano.com, which is LATIONOVEGANO.com, and then you can just check my website out, and then I have all my episode, my podcast there, my program is there, everything is there. You can just send me an email, send me a DM. I respond to my social media, and I try to respond right away. I'm on TikTok too.
Oh my gosh, I haven't gotten there yet. I don't know if I ever will.
Ella, I'm not in TikTok dancing though. I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't do it. No. So I use TikTok. Actually, I kind of got quite a good buzz there. So I use TikTok as an educational purposes. So basically, what I do is I record short videos talking about a specific topic. And man, I get a lot of haters too, though.
Yeah. Oh, I have to check it out.
Yeah. So I do a lot of short videos where I talk about different type of topics, from like fitness to also eating, dieting, and I also post some of the interviews as well. So such little clips. So yeah, so I try to stay relevant. I try to like give a lot of free content. A lot of free information. This is 20 plus years of material. So we're just trying to put it out there and help people out as much as I can. You can always say hi to me, ask me any questions. I'm here for you guys.
Oh, thank you so much, Roger, for being here, for taking the time and energy. Have so much fun with you. We'll have to do it again.
Anytime, anytime. Yeah, definitely. We'll do it again.
Awesome. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today. We will catch you next time. Bye-bye.